Imagine this, for over 200 years, a legendary blue diamond just vanished. It left behind a cold case that totally baffled historians and gemologists. We're talking about the French blue, the star of the French crown jewels, gone without a trace. But what if the answer was hiding in plain sight this whole time? Well, today we're cracking that case.
Okay, so look at these two. On the right, you've got the famous 45.5-carat Hope diamond, and on the left, a recreation of the long-lost and even bigger French blue. For centuries, one single question stumped everybody. Are they secretly the same stone?
All right, let's meet our two main characters in this story. First up, the absolutely stunning Hope diamond, a jewel known all over the world. And then there's its mysterious ancestor, the massive 69-carat French blue, a gem of incredible historical importance that just disappeared.
Now you gotta understand, this wasn't just any diamond. The French blue was literally the centerpiece of the French monarchy's power, specially recut for Louis XIV himself, the Sun King. It was this huge symbol of royal authority, which, makes its disappearance all the more dramatic.
So what's the scene of the crime? Well, it's the most chaotic, violent period in all of French history, the Revolution. This event didn't just topple a king, it created the perfect cover for one of the greatest heists of all time.
With the king captured and the government in total chaos, the crown jewels were moved to a public storehouse called the Garde Meuble, and that turned out to be a fatal mistake. In September 1792, with riots tearing through Paris, a gang of thieves broke in and spent 5 nights just cleaning the place out.
And here's the thing. While many of the other crown jewels were eventually found, the French blue was gone. Poof! It had been pried out of its setting in the Order of the Golden Fleece insignia, and as historian Maria Pilar Queralt del Hierro puts it, it just vanished.
For the next 100 years or so, the idea that the Hope diamond was actually the recut French blue was just a rumor. It was a fascinating theory for sure, but with absolutely no hard proof. The trail was ice cold. So let's look at why it was so hard to prove.
So the first real clue doesn't pop up until 1812 in London. A diamond merchant named Daniel Eliasson suddenly has this magnificent 45.5-carat blue diamond for sale. Now, the timing is incredibly suspicious. It shows up almost exactly 20 years after the theft, which just so happens to be when the statute of limitations for the crime ran out. Coincidence? I think not.
But here was the massive problem. The only evidence anyone had for what the French blue actually looked like were these old historical drawings. And as any detective knows, relying on a sketch is a very, very risky business.
And this comparison really drives the point home. On the left is a drawing of another gem from that same insignia, the red Côte de Bretonne spinel. On the right, that's the actual gem. I mean, come on, they barely look alike. The historical drawings were way too distorted and inaccurate to be trusted as solid evidence.
Oh, and just to clear something up real quick, forget all those stories about the curse of Marie Antoinette. The Golden Fleece insignia was a symbol of the king's power. There's really no evidence she ever wore it. Her tragic end had nothing to do with this gem. So yeah, we're sticking to the facts here.
So, the investigation was at a dead end. For almost 200 years, the case went nowhere. Then, in 2007, a completely unexpected discovery in a Paris museum just blew the whole case wide open. I mean, think about it. The original diamond was long gone. The only clues were these wonky, distorted sketches. It seemed impossible. How could you ever prove the connection beyond a shadow of a doubt? You'd need a time machine, or something even better.
The answer turned out to be this small, pretty unassuming lead cast. It was found during a routine inventory check at the Paris Muséum National d'Histoire Naturelle. It had been sitting in a drawer, mislabeled and totally overlooked for decades. This, right here, was the smoking gun.
And this is where it gets really good. The cast came with a crucial clue from the archives. Researchers figured out that the labels for 2 different casts had been swapped by accident. The correct catalog entry mentioned the owner, a Mr. Hope of London. That could really only be Henry Philip Hope, the very man whose family gave the Hope diamond its name.
This discovery was the absolute key. Now, armed with an actual physical model of the lost diamond, scientists could finally use 21st century tech to solve this 18th century mystery and essentially bring the French blue back to life.
The whole process was incredibly meticulous. First, they laser scanned that little lead cast with a precision that is just mind-boggling.
Then, they used all that data to build a perfect 3D digital model of the original French blue. And finally, they could actually simulate how light would have passed through the original gem. And wow, the results were just stunning. The new 3D model, based on that lead cast, revealed the true genius of the original gem. I mean, just look at the fire and brilliance. The French blue wasn't just big, it was a total masterpiece of gem cutting, way more dazzling than anyone had ever imagined.
But the new model also revealed a secret, something hidden in its design. The number of facets around its base, the collet, it wasn't an even number like you'd expect. It was 7. A very strange and really difficult choice for a gem cutter back in the 17th century.
So why 7? Well, this wasn't an accident. Not at all. The number 7 was deeply symbolic, often representing divinity. For King Louis XIV, the Sun King, this 7-sided design was a very deliberate choice to look like the rays of the sun, reinforcing his image as a divinely appointed ruler.
And here it is, the final, undeniable proof, the moment of truth. Using these super precise 3D models, scientists placed the Hope Diamond right inside the newly recreated French blue. And as you can see, it fits perfectly. There's no doubt about it. The Hope Diamond was cut from the heart of the lost French blue. Case closed.
So this incredible detective story was solved with a combination of old-school archival work and amazing modern technology, all thanks to one small, mislabeled object. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other world-changing secrets are just sitting in a drawer somewhere waiting to be rediscovered?